Now that you've got your color theme all set up for your new blog, it's time to come up with a simple blog logo that you can use with Divi and a favicon that can be used in the top of the browser bar when somebody's on your site. So with Divi theme, how we're using it, the logo needs to be rectangular, and oftentimes people use very simple logos with Divi, or they even just use the words with a nice font or even a very plain font. You can also use icons in your logo if you want to. Just keep in mind that the overall theme of the logo needs to be rectangular because we have this rectangular space to use it in, and when we scroll, the logo often gets smaller. So I'm going to show you how to keep the logo a little bit bigger whenever we install the logo later, but overall it still needs to have that rectangular shape. The favicon is this little icon that shows up in the browser bar whenever somebody is on your site. So you can see for mine, it's the BT, and for Canva, it's a blue circle with the C inside of it. So we're going to create both of those using Canva, and we're going to use some of the templates that they already have for logos, so it's going to be a very painless process. So let's head over to Canva, and in the top right search bar when you're logged in, just type in logo, and it's going to bring up a lot of different pre-made logos that can be used on your site. You will want to have a paid version of Canva in order to download your logo with a transparent background. So if you haven't signed up for a free trial, I recommend doing that now. As you're looking through these logos, you want to look for logos that are rectangular in shape. They have a ton of logos that are really nice, but have more of a circular shape or a square shape. So keep that in mind as you're looking for the logos. I'm going to show you 3 logos that work really well with the Divi theme. The first one is the Steinfeld logo that has the paint in the background. And then we have this beautiful boutique, which I would take off the bottom word of boutique and just keep the 2 letters with the words in between. And then the last one is one for Lena Studios, I think. So I'm just going to type in Lena. Here we go, Lena Studios. That one's really pretty because it has the icon in the middle and then just the words around it. So we're going to look at those 3 logos today. Again, you can use any of the logos, so don't feel like you have to use one of those 3. There are a ton of logos that Divi has available. You just want to make sure that it has that rectangular shape. And all of these can be moved around when you're working on them within Canva. So to get started, let's just go with the Steinfeld one, and then we'll go to the other 2 as well. By default, Canva has the size of the logo as a square. We're going to change that once we get the 3 logos done, and I'm going to show you how to resize the logo, and then we're going to make it more of that rectangular shape. One thing that's nice about the logos is they often combine fonts that already look nice together. So if you didn't come up with a font selection when you were working on your color palette, this can help you out with that. So I'm not going to change any of the fonts. I'm just going to go ahead and keep them the same. If you've already come up with a font pairing that you like, go ahead and change the fonts to match your site fonts. So for this one, for the Steinfeld logo, I'm just going to double click on the Steinfeld. Actually, first, since both of these blue boxes came up together, it shows that these are grouped together. So what I want to do is ungroup this so that I can work on just the Steinfeld by itself. So I'm going to click on Steinfeld, and then I'm just going to type in the name of my site. So blogging tutorials. Now this has taken up way more space than it was before. So what I want to do is just bring the font size down so that it takes up what it was taking before. Or I could widen the box and then make it smaller here. Canva is pretty functional whenever you're just trying to make the fonts work for you. It automatically changes the font size. So I did that without changing the font size manually. I just did it by making the box a smaller size. So now I have the blogging tutorials and it's over the paint. And then I'm just going to delete this photo studio because I have my whole title here. And then I'm going to change this paint to one of my brand colors. So when I click on the peach color that's up here, it's going to show my blogging tutorials brand color. So I'm just going to choose one of these three. So I'm going to go with the teal. And I could do any of the other ones as well. If I was to do the darker one, I would probably go with a white for the font, except for in the areas where there is no blue in the background, we would lose that font. So just play around with that. Okay, so that's one. Very quickly was able to turn that Steinfeld logo into a blogging tutorials logo. So now in order to add another page, I'm just going to click down here where it says add page. And then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to type in logos again. And now you can see we have multiple logos. So you can search through them here, or since you're probably not going to be creating a bunch of different logos, you could just go back to the Canva homepage to do it like that, or you probably just started with the one that you want to use. I just wanted to give you 3 different versions so that you can see how easily they can be customized. So the next one that I wanted to do is a beautiful boutique. Okay, so when I typed in boutique, it came up here. So sometimes it is hard to tell which box it is that you're working on. So I'm just going to try and figure out which of these is the beautiful and which one is the letters behind. So the first one is that BD script. So if I click on that, I'm going to be able to type in the blogging tutorials. And just like I did with the previous logo, I need to widen this so that I can get it all on one line, and then I'm going to change it down to make it smaller. And once the paint grid lines show crossed in the center and horizontally and vertically, it shows me that that is perfectly centered. Then I'm going to delete the boutique. And now what I want to change is the letters that are in the background. So I've already done the blogging tutorials here, and then I'm just going to use BT in the back. So now it automatically puts that back into the back and then has the blogging tutorials in front of it. So it isn't really centered with the letters in the back, so I'm going to go ahead and move that a little bit. So now that the dash line came up horizontally, that shows me that it's centered with the thing that's behind it. And I don't need this green background, so I'm going to go ahead and delete that just by clicking on it. And then because the letters for BT was white, I'm going to go ahead and click on that section, and I'm going to change the color. Right. So that one's a little bit harder to read, so I'm not sure that I would actually use it, but it is one option. All right, then I'm going to go and do our third option. So this one is the Lena Studios. All right, so on this one, I'm going to change the words. I'm going to put blogging on one side and studio on the other. Or not studio, blogging tutorials. And then since the font size again is not correct, I'm going to just make these a little bit smaller. So right now it's at 114. So I'm going to highlight this section and I'm going to go down to about 100 and see what that does. So that did bring it down to right where it all fits in one. So that's perfect. So I'm going to change this one as well. So now that I have both of the words that I need, I just need to do something with the icon in the middle. So flowers is pretty neutral, so I could use that if I want to. So I would just click on the icon, and the icons are all editable by color. So you can see that when I click on the icon that it brings up these 3 color boxes up in the top left. So I can click on any one of these and it's going to allow me to change the color of those flowers. So I'm just going to use my brand colors and adjust this flower. So we're going to go first on the dark brown, and instead of brown we're going to go ahead and do the navy blue, and on the light brown instead of the light brown let's see what it looks like with the gray. And then instead of the pink for the flower, we'll do the blue. So I'm missing the red, so I could add that in place of the gray or instead of the outline. Maybe I'll do it instead of the outline, see how that looks. Nope, I like it better with the blue. All right, so we have this here. So I could leave it like that. Or if you want to use a different icon instead of the flowers, you can do that as well. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna make a copy of this one by clicking this duplicate page icon up at the top right. And I'm gonna click on the icon and I'm just gonna delete it. And then I'm gonna go to Elements. And then we have all these icons as you scroll, or you can also search for something. So if you wanted to use flowers, you just wanted to use different flowers, you have all of these options here that you can use within that logo. So since I'm doing the blog, I want to go with something that reminds me of a blog or a website. So if I type in blog, I get multiple different icons that they consider bloggish. So this one's actually kind of cute here. And all of these can be customized. So I'm going to use this one right here that has kind of like a pencil and a tablet with some writing. And then I'm going to change the colors to be the brand colors. So instead of their teal, I'm going to use mine. Instead of orange, I'm going to use red. And I'll do that for both of the oranges. And then the rest is pretty on brand. So I'm going to go ahead and keep that. I'm going to make it smaller to fit within the space that we have. And then I'm going to turn it on a slant like they had it before. So I'm going to go a little bit smaller. All right, so now we have a new Blogging Tutorials logo. So all of these are rectangular in shape, but we are on a square background, so we need to adjust that. So once you've come up with the logo that you like, we're gonna go up here to where it says resize, and then we want to do a custom size. So instead of the 1500 by 1500 square, what we wanna have is a 500 by 90 rectangle. And then you can either push copy and resize or just resize. So I'm going to go ahead and push resize because I don't need the square for anything. And now we have those same logos on a rectangle page. So in order to make these fill the space better, I'm just going to drag and drop my mouse over everything that's in each of the logos and change the size bigger. So I'm going to highlight over it. And then I can group it together so that nothing gets missed when I'm resizing. And then now I can just drag and drop the corners until we fill up as much as we can height-wise for the logo. It doesn't need to be as long as we made it. It doesn't need to fill up the whole 500, but we want to get as close to the 90 pixels high as we can. All right, so now we have the first one done. And I'm going to do the same thing for the next 4 that we have. So I'm just going to drag and drop over it, group it together, and then I'm going to drag the corner to make it as tall as I can. Okay, so there's the second. I'll do the same with these ones as well. So this one I believe is actually already grouped together. So I'm just going to go ahead and drag and drop. And then we'll do the final. So I didn't group this one together, but because I had highlighted over them, it still grabbed all the pieces. So because the icon that I used in the middle is so much smaller than the flowers, height-wise, I was able to make the text quite a bit bigger than I was in this one because the leaves are coming up so high. So this one overall would probably, visually, we would be able to see it more better on that blog itself. So if we look down here at the bottom right, you can see that I'm at a 400% zoom for the logo. So if we go to 100%, you'll be able to see what the logo is actually going to look like full size. And this should give you a good idea if this is going to work as your site logo or not. Once you've come up with the logo that you want to use, just change the title of the logo. So I'm going to do blogging tutorials, blue, red logo, and then you'll click download. So you don't want to download all of them. If you did multiples, you just want to download one. So for this example, I'm going to go ahead and go with the fourth one. So I'm going to go up here to download, and then I'm going to click on transparent background, and then where it says all pages, I'm going to click on just the one that I want to keep. So I'm going to click here on page 4, and then click done, and then download. So now I have that logo that's available to be uploaded into the Divi theme, and I'm going to do that in the next video. So now that the logo is complete, we need to work on that favicon. So you want to have the logo done so you can keep the same icon or the same font if you used a font. So now what I'm going to do for the favicon, it needs to be a 32 by 32. So in order to keep the elements that we already created with the logo, so what I'm going to do is resize these logos again, but this time to a 512 by 512 size, which is actually quite larger than a typical favicon is going to appear. A favicon is going to show up in a browser at 32 by 32 pixels, which is very, very small. So keep this in mind as you're designing the icon. We're creating our icon in a 512 by 512 size because if somebody saves our site to their mobile phone, it's going to show up with what's called like an app logo, and that's much larger. So you want to make sure that this icon is going to work for both very, very small and a little bit larger of a size. Since I'm going to be using the elements from these logos instead of starting from scratch, I'm just going to resize these images and adjust them to what I need. So I'm going to go up to the top left and choose resize and then type in the 512 by 512 size. And since I want to keep the original logos intact so that I can use them later, I want to click on copy and resize. I don't want to just click resize because I'll lose my original logos in that case. So for the favicon, we don't want to have the full logo. That's not going to work. We just want to have a piece of the logo, a small element that we can use. So for the second one, click on just the font in the front. And I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to use just the BT for the favicon. So I'm going to fill up as much of the square as I can without losing any of it. So that looks pretty good. We're almost to the edges, and I'm going to make sure we're perfectly centered. Okay, and then on the third one, because it has the flower icon, that's actually what I'm going to use instead of the words or the letters. So here I'm going to ungroup again, and I'm going to take out the words. I'm going to leave just that flower icon. And again, I'm going to take up as much space as I can. All right, so there's the second option. And then the fourth one, I'm going to ungroup, delete the words, and I'll make that icon bigger. And they are slanted. We could make them straight or keep them slanted. It's up to you. All right, so now this one I didn't do any. So on here, let's see what I can do. So instead of blogging tutorials, I would do just the BT. Let's see what it looks like if we make the whole thing bigger. Yeah, that one I don't really like, so I don't think I would use that one at all. But these three give us some nice options here. All right, so in order to download the Favicon, we're going to change the name again. I just like to have it the right name for when I'm searching for it and when it's in my media file on the site. So I'm just going to do blogging tutorials, Favicon blue. And then click download. And again, we want to do a transparent background. So I'm going to go ahead with the fourth one again. So I'm going to go to download, transparent background. Instead of all pages, I'm just going to go to 4. And then I'm going to click done and then download. All right, so now I have both of those, the logo and the icon, the Favicon, that can be uploaded in the next step.